the framework in which you have for yourself just sets up the kind of institution on top of it. And so if you look at the lifestyle, what we call in the book, the Burn lifestyle, it has 8 categories: body, emotions, mind, spirit, relationship, time, work, and money. And if you boil down all aspects of being in the physical world and the mental world and the spiritual world, you're going to find these 8 pieces. Mm-hmm. The spirit, obviously, being the spiritual world, the body, the emotions and the mind being the mental world, and then body, time, work, money, relationships. Those are all things here physically while we're here shaking hands, high-fiving people, doing workouts, all the physical things. Okay, so there's a question that I want to pose to you. So think of these eight pieces of the pie, and as we're doing this exercise, I'll give you some reminders and some prompts. What I want you to go ahead and do is close your eyes, and we're going to take maybe 2 minutes, and I just want you to have a real deep, controlled breath, kind of in and out. And for a moment, I want you to visualize just one single day. It's not a day that is forced upon you, but it's a day in which you control from top to bottom. It's a day in which you're with who you'd like to be with, where you'd like to be, doing what you love, how you love it, wherever you love it. And it's the ideal day. And you had to repeat this day over and over and over and over, which means you better like the things that you do in this day. If you could give me an ideal day, think about this story. You can keep your eyes closed. You're going to think about a story of a day, an ideal day. And I'll start some prompts and I'll go for about a minute or 2. And I just want you to literally visualize and feel how this day feels. And then we're going to talk about it, okay?
Okay.
All right, the day starts. What time is it?
Hopefully my children don't wake up at like 6 a.m. My day, probably it's great when it starts at like 6:30 and I have a good 30 minutes to sometimes an hour if I get lucky to just kind of be by myself before I have to jump into mom mode.
So the first half an hour is solitude.
Mm-hmm.
So you value solidarity, solitude in your life. You need time for you.
Yes.
Okay. Now it's 6:30. What do we do next? And who are we with? Are we eating? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are you having a minute with the family? What do you do here?
6:30. Hopefully my children are still sleeping. My husband's probably just waking up, but I'm the kind of person, like, the second my eyes open, I'm out of bed. I don't really take time to, like, I don't know, I just don't have to, like, ease out of sleeping, I guess. He, is in the bathroom doing whatever he does for, like, 30 minutes, so I'm probably still sitting on the couch, like, maybe I've had a cup of coffee at that point. I'm reading a book. I may be watching, like, Good Morning America or something. But kids hopefully are still sleeping till like 7:15.
So he's up and the kids are sleeping still.
Yeah.
So you want some time to connect. So we're getting into this relationship bucket. Time to connect with yourself is important to you. And then secondarily, time to connect with your spouse is very important to you. Mm-hmm. Then what happens? Then it's 7:30. You got to get going here.
The kids are downstairs. I love a day that, it's not immediately turn on a TV and there's like cartoons playing. If it was my perfect day every day, we'd have like music playing. And if it's nice out, I love to just open up. We have a ton of windows like in our downstairs. And when it's nice outside, my favorite thing to do first thing in the morning is just open all of those windows, pull up all the blinds, like let the sunshine in, have music playing, have it be one of those perfect mornings where, Landon and Avery just love whatever I decided to give them for breakfast, and they're sitting there eating it without complaints.
Okay, so we can stop right there and you can open your eyes. And we would continue this all the way through every half an hour or hour. We'd continue this all the way through the day. Mm-hmm. And we'd write it out. And we would then use that story as the vision, right? So a lot of times when we set a vision for ourselves where we need to be this goal-oriented person, it's not really necessarily that we need to be goal-oriented. It's just that we need to have a directional conversation of what north, south, east, west, like what direction are we going? There's no right direction. There's no wrong direction. It's only to you. And so, by continuing this exercise and having, walking yourself through, if there was no limitations, if there was no consequences, if there's nothing holding me back, if there's no preconceived notions that my mom or my dad put into my head or my university professors told me something and I've been living my life in the confines of what other people have given me, the rules and regulations. What if all of that didn't exist and I was just able to do exactly what I wanted? Like my version of success is what I want, do what I want with who I want, when I want, where I want, how I want.
Right.
And all the things that you were describing right there have nothing to do with what most people will consider successful, right? Monies and cars, and it's about the time you get to spend with the people that you get to love. And it's, for what it's worth, if you haven't had an opportunity to actually put a piece of paper, put down on a piece of paper with a pen or a pencil, this ideal day in this circumstance in these scenarios, it might take an hour and a half to do it the right way.
Yeah.
But doing so has, I know, helped so many people in Burn Nation, especially members that I was able to do it with. And maybe in a few months you can get yours on paper and come back and do a follow-up here. I think it'd be nice for people to see the progression and what happens when we focus on ourselves holistically like this. And so, and then you kind of audit your story and you just make sure that body and mind and emotion and all those 8 pieces of the pie are in there somewhere. And that's the direction. That's the conversation. And it's not like that's a trophy. It's not like it's something we have to go to attain, right? The next question is, what's stopping you today from doing those things, right? What is stopping you from living that? What you just described to me there in a morning seems like the only way that something can get in the way of that every day has to do with something that starts with a Y and ends with a OU.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens is a lot of times when we ask ourselves, hey, what is actually stopping me from reaching this? There's not much in the way.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
So that would be an interesting exercise for you to do.
Yeah.
Do you have anything where you've set any type of directional conversation or goals on a piece of paper?
Not really. Like I am OCD about a to-do list, but that, goes a week in advance, a month in advance, maybe. But no, I've never even thought about goal setting. That's such like a simple way to think about that. And it's such a it's not overwhelming in any way to just sit there and be like, what is my perfect day? So that is something I'll have to reflect on.
You've got a very positive approach to life. People that have a negative approach to life, I'll often recommend them to write down what they're running away from as a primary mode of motivation. Because my goal is to get you from this living in a primary state of negative energy to positive energy. But I can't want that more than you do. So your positivity and your energy frequency that you're already on in life, you're on this trajectory that if you were to have a directional conversation, you were to dial in specificity, like start to dial in, even if it's completely wrong, and it probably isn't, it will change. But focus and you shall find, right? Yeah. Have you ever been somebody that sets goals, or you have always been somebody that has a more present focus?
I definitely focus more on the present. And I don't know if it's because life has showed me that life is short and you never really know when it's going to be over. Like maybe in some way that holds me back from thinking too far into the future, but I don't know. I just focus on the present. I'm the present, and I'm really not a good goal setter.
I don't think you have to put pressure on yourself to be a good goal setter. But it's just the legacy that, like, think about it that way. It's the legacy that I want to create. And let me have part of my legacy being able to show my kids when I'm in 30 years. Let me show them the first time that I really put my legacy on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like, how powerful is that? And then to show it to them and to see that their reaction was only, to showing them that it was exactly what was meant by writing the letter in the first place, you know? And I have a very deep sense of personal pride around that. But I don't think it's to mistake being lost in the moment, right? Having a direction, saying I want to be a Grammy award-winning actor doesn't mean that I don't focus on making the scene. Yeah. Right? It just means that when I'm making the scene, I have to be present, because to be where I want to be, I can't let the day get in front of me, if you will. Yeah. So when I ask you this question, I want to hear your reaction. What is stopping you from getting to where, in some resemblance of what you just described to me?
Honestly, nothing. I think I've just been doing a lot of work on myself recently, and, inside and outside. And so I think just honestly allowing myself the space to think about things like that is probably what's stopping me, to honestly just sit there and think, like, what do I want my life to look like? Because there really isn't much that's stopping me from that. I mean, there's obviously, like, I can't up and, like, move to, I don't know, Turks and Caicos and quit my job, but I also wouldn't want to do that. Yeah, I think it's not something I've ever given myself time to think about.
Well, that can be maybe something you take away from this is some focus meeting homework. Yeah. It's to write out that story and then read it and reread it and edit it. And it becomes now, we call it a North Star goal. It becomes something that it's only tangible. It's only manifest when it's manifest. It's only here when it's here. There's no forcing nature to it. We're not trying to control the outcome. Yeah. It's just, if I let go of the outcomes, if I let go of trying to control things in my life, that's when we end up ultimately getting what we want.